What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Center Saint channel. Here with Lamar West, giving you a real journalist review of J. Cole's The Fall Off album. Allegedly, his last studio album released as a commercial project. Who's to say? I don't know. I don't fully believe that, but I do think that it'll be his last album for a while, at least, right? But yeah, I am a professional, educated, trained, experienced journalist here to give you guys a professional expert level review. And what I mean by that is a lot of reviews that you will see are, music overall is subjective, right? Music overall is a subjective topic. But where I see there is a lack of training in terms of people's opinions and videos that you will watch or podcasts or whatever the case may be, is that the difference between a professional, trained, educated journalist is that we are trained and educated on how to give objective information, remove our human bias and our human subjectiveness, and to give credible, citeful resources and information, meaning information that we can cite the source, information that is fact checked, right? That's where I see a lot of issues at. But again, mind you, all opinions are subjective. So even my opinion here is going to be a little bit subjective to what I prefer and what I like, but I'm not going to create any narratives or tell you anything that is completely like a made up narrative or made up sentiment in my head. And I'm seeing a lot of that going around, which I'm not a fan of. But let's get into the album, man. J. Cole, The Fall Off. Oh man. My initial reactions, 4 out of 5 stars. 4 out of 5 stars. I think that this is a great project. I think this is a phenomenal body of work overall. Some of my key takeaways are, of course, elite level lyricism, which is his strong suit. J. Cole's strong suit is his elite level lyricism and his storytelling ability. And I think that this is a display of elite lyrical ability on songs like Who the F Is You, Safety, oh man, so I mean honestly, every song, if I'm being real, like all of these songs lyrically, he's just going crazy. But Who the F Is You is probably his best lyrical performance on this song. I mean on this record, on this album, in my opinion. Overall though, I think that the reason that a rapper like J. Cole is so important and valuable and cherished in the hip hop community is because he still keeps the essence of what true hip hop is. Sorry guys. He keeps the essence of what true hip hop is in terms of lyrical ability, storytelling, social observations, bars, metaphors, and he still merges that with commercial mixtapes, commercial albums. That's something that we don't get a lot. A lot of people, when they make albums or they make commercial projects, they're trying to just go for singles and big hits. This is one of the 3 biggest rappers in the world, and he still will make a full album with no singles. Not trying to make a single, not trying to make a hit. He's just making lyrical music, hip hop music, real hip hop essence based music, which is, that's an amazing, such a rare thing. There's not many rappers who are doing that. A lot of the lyrical miracle type guys, elite lyricists, are what you would consider underground rappers in today's time. Most of them are independent. Most of them aren't on the mainstream. They're not A-level rappers or A-level artists overall. They're not doing arenas and stadiums like J. Cole is, right? So that is why J. Cole is so valued and cherished. And that's why I appreciate a project like this from J. Cole, where he's doing elite lyricism and elite storytelling on a commercial album that's heralded to be his allegedly last album, where he could have said, you know what, on my last album, I'm just going to try to make the most hits that I can make and get the most streams and the most buys and, have a big impact that way. But no, I'm going to tell my story and I'm going to display the true essence of hip hop. And that's why I love this album. I think it's a lot of standout records to me on this project. I think some of the standout songs to me is Safety. That's a real East Coast boom bap storytelling type of song where he's tapping into in this song specifically, he's tapping into going back home. The album overall is a double disc. 29 and 39 are the 2 discs. Disc 1 is 29, disc 2 is 39. Disc 29 is him going home back to Fayetteville, North Carolina for the first time at age 29. After he's moved to New York, got a record deal signed with Jay-Z, telling his story. So he opens the album by 26 is the first song where he's repping his hometown, 26 Fayetteville, North Carolina. Even in that song, outside of the name being 2 6 and him saying 2 6 throughout the song, even stuff like him saying that's something that they say in Fayetteville. That's like an anthem of theirs. That's like a whistle call that they do out there, right? Then you go from that, then you get into the song Safety. Safety is him talking to one of his homies from back home and catching up on what's going on. And, oh yeah, this girl out here, she's still bad. Or dang, so and so died. Can you make the funeral? X, Y, and Z, right? And Safety is just a great overall hip hop song. That's probably like, as soon as I heard that song, I said, oh, I love this record. That is like, if you're a true J. Cole fan, that is the type of music that made you fall in love with J. Cole. That's a real J. Cole type of record. So Safety is a standout record to me. I like Bunts Road Blues. I don't think initially my first listen I fell in love with it, but after listening to it a few times, just that Alchemist beat with the drums, and the way that Cole was flowing on there, the Future hook was okay, cool to me, but the Tim's hook at the end was beautiful. I love Tim's. I love her voice. That was an amazing record to me. I think it could have been a little longer because it was around 5 or 6 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. Again, let's be professional here. Let's be professional, guys. Okay, yeah, it's around 5 or 6 minutes long. Um, but yeah, so I really loved Bunts Road Blues. Poor Thing. Oh my goodness. He was cooking up Buddy from back home. Whoever dude is back home that said something about J. Cole that had him hot, Cole went on here cooking him. I never heard this version of Cole. I never heard this version of Cole talking about I want the head up when you see me. Put your hands up, basically. He basically said, when you see me, put your hands up. I'm back in the Ville. We could get the fair one. I ain't never seen Cole talk that way, but it was hard. And it's a real Southern style beat, like a Little John type of beat. And he hit all points. He had two hard verses plus a chorus, plus the catchy, like, at the end of each, on his third verse, at the end of each bar, he's saying, poor right? So that was hard. But yeah, so on the first disc, to me, this one is better than this two. And this one to me almost has no skips. Run a Train was the one I wasn't really a fan of, but everything else on here was fire. I mean, 2 6, Safety, Poor Thing, Legacy, like a girl type bop, girl type vibe. I love that song. That was hard. Bunts Road Blues. Again, Who the F is You is probably the best lyrical performance. And I love the beat switch. I think the beat switch, the second beat could have been a little better. Maybe if he would have got like a Mike Will made it or Tay Keith or something like that, that would have been hard. Drum and bass is hard. That's a hard song. That's just like a mellow monotone type of record, but it's simple. The hook is good. The bars are fire. That's a great lyrical performance as well. Drum and bass is fire. And then at the end of Drum and Bass, he has a skit where he's talking to a girl outside of the club, right when the club lets out. And then it's a dude that's kind of like hating on him because he want to get a picture. And Cole is kind of dismissing him a little bit, like, yo, hold on. I'm talking to Shorty right now. Right. And then that transitions into The Let Out, which is a song about if you are a person who used to go to parties, used to go to clubs, everybody knows the let out is the most dangerous part of the night. The let out is where people going to get shot, jumped, stumped out, robbed, stolen. The let out is where you either in the parking lot trying to pimp, trying to get girls, or it's where you're going to catch rat. You're going to catch smoke. You're going to get in a fight with somebody. Y'all going to jump somebody. It's people who used to literally pull up just for the let out. Like, they're not going to the party. They're not going to the game. They're literally pulling up to the let out just to fight somebody or jump somebody, right? So that's why when he's saying survive the let out, it's like I relate to that. I don't know if that was more a Southern thing. I'm from Virginia, so North Carolina is right next to us. I don't know if that was everywhere, but where we're from, the let out was exactly how he described it, right? And I feel like I've heard people have mixed reviews on that song. And I do think, he took a risk with this song. Like, he didn't have no rapping verse. He was kind of singing throughout the entirety of the song. And the beat isn't something he usually does. So I understand that it may not be for everybody. But I enjoyed it. And I think it's a song that if you relate to it, then you relate to it. If you don't, then it's not going to be for you, right? Bombs in the Ville, he was really in his singing bag. The first half he was really singing, and I thought it was just cool. But once the beat switched, and he went to hit the gas, ooh, smoked it. That's a vibe. And if you haven't yet, look up Hit the Gas, the slow down version. Fire, vibes. And on that song, he sampled the Ludacris, What's Your Fantasy? He sampled that. But Hit the Gas is fire. It almost reminds me of like the sexy drill type of vibe or wave that's going on in New York right now. Um, so Hit the Gas was fire. And on one of these songs, I can't recall if it was Safety. I have to look up if it was Safety or Run the Train, but I believe he sampled a Queen Latifah song as well. Um, and that was fire. That was fire as well. So yeah. So Lonely at the top, he sampled Benny the Butcher, a beat from Benny the Butcher, and it's not, Lonely at the top to me. It's a song that you're going to give a lot of replay value to, but it was just him describing like what it feels like to be at the top of the hip hop game and what that feels like going back home for the first time. So it's a cool outro. It makes sense to me, but it's not like a strong song with a lot of replay value. But to me, this one is just flawless. Like I said, there's only one song that I wasn't a fan of, Run a Train. Outside of that, this is fire. Like this could have been the album to me. This first disc with like maybe 2 or 3 songs from this 2, and I think you could have ended it right there, right? So moving on to this 2, 39, when he goes back home. On the 39 intro, he has a beat switch. He gets to rapping. He's going crazy. He's spitting some hard bars. I think the song is a little too long for my personal liking, but I can also acknowledge that he's going crazy. He's spitting, right? The fall off is inevitable. Classic. This is going to be one of J. Cole's like classic records. It's amazing. He's paying homage to like the Nas song Rewind, where he's rapping about his life backwards, right? This is a fire song. The fall off is inevitable. If you want to know what like encompasses J. Cole in totality, listen to that song. That's J. Cole type of beats. That's his type of flow, cadence, and storytelling. That's literally like, if you need to know what J. Cole raps like, you can listen to that song, and that encapsulates everything. The Villas with Erykah Badu was cool to me. I like it. He sampled the song The Realest, which I think it was hard. I think it was hard. It wasn't one of my favorites off of this too, but I think it was a good song nonetheless. Old Dog with Petey Pablo, that's hard. Petey Pablo tapping into his old song Raise Up, where he's talking about take your shirt off, twist it around your head like a helicopter. North Carolina, right? He had a hook that was similar to that. And again, this beat sound like a down south Little John type of beat. So I think Old Dog was hard for sure. Life Sentence to me, like this run to me of Old Dog, Life Sentence, Only You, fire. Those 3, wait, 1, 2, 3, whatever. Fire run. And Man Up Above was cool too. But Life Sentence, fire. That's when he sampled the DMX hook. And now at this point, I will say he's doing a lot of sampling or paying a lot of homage to his inspirations, which I like. But at the same time, I do think that once you're getting to 5, 6, 7 samples of hooks and older songs, I think that I understand it. I do think he could have had a few less samples though at this point on the album, because I want to hear some creativity and originality from J. Cole himself, right? Even though I love Life Sentence, and it makes sense to me, and I love that song though. Like just the stuff that he's saying, I related to it. I related to everything he's saying about being with a woman and dealing with lust or dealing with commitment issues or dealing with like, we started back then and now we're still rocking now, but I always knew we would figure it out and do life together. Like I love this song. I love that record, but I do think that he could have cut down on some of the amount of songs that he sampled. But moving on to Only You, fire. That's a single. I don't think he intended for any of these songs to be a single, but this song, the beat, the production, the way he's flowing, the way Burna Boy's flowing, even the spoken word at the end, fire. This is going to be a single. This is going to be a song that gets played on the radio. This is fire. This is amazing. One of the standout records to me. This is a fire song. Man Up Above, where he sampled the Marvin Sapp. Again, that's what I'm saying. It's a lot of samples. Even on the hook, he's sampling J-Lo, Jenny from the Block, because he's like, don't be fooled by the rocks that I got, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So, but Man Up Above is fire. It's a hard song, good flow, good cadence, good storytelling again. I don't necessarily know how, I will say this, I don't necessarily know how Man Up Above fits into the story of his album that he's trying to tell, between going back to Fayetteville, because Man Up Above really isn't about him at all. It's kind of just him storytelling, right? So I don't know how that really fits into the story or the concept of his album. So I don't think it was needed, but it's a good song. I just don't think it was needed, right? I Love Her Again, fire. That's going to be a classic hip hop song. He's picking up from where Common left off with I used to love her, talking about hip hop. So he's basically talking about hip hop in reference to a woman. And he talks about how everything from it went from New York to Atlanta during the Snap era. He's talking about all of that stuff that in terms of hip hop and the story of hip hop. It's a hard bar where he's talking about, he's referencing him, Kendrick, and Drake, where he says stuff about like, she was telling me, hip hop was telling me that she loved me, but she was also telling Kendrick and Drake that, and blah, blah, blah. So that was a hard, and he picked it up right where Common left off. So I think that was fire. That was fire. And then he had the Q-tip hook on there. But again, another sample. Now we're getting to like 8-9 samples, which I think these songs sound good, but he didn't need to do this many samples. I don't think that's a lot of samples to clear. What If, where he's talking about Pac and Big. I thought that song was bad. I didn't like that song at all. That was whack to me. I didn't like that. I just didn't see the point. And again, I don't see where that fits in the story of J. Cole going back home at 29, then going back home at 39. I don't get like the significance of the song, like where that fits into his story. Quick Stop makes sense. Quick Stop is him going back to Fayetteville, trying to hide in the hoodie, going to get gas. But he's such a superstar now that people recognize him and people come up to him. And initially he's annoyed trying to hide, but then the person says something that's so significant to him, like, dang, this helped me get through a hard time. And he's like, dang, like, I'm over here trying to be Hollywood and not want to talk to fans, but look, like, this really meant something to me. And he embraces the dude and talks about how it's important about the difference that he makes. It's not about the tours, the money, the girls. It's about me making a difference in these people's lives. Like, I really felt that was hard. That's one of J. Cole's best performances for sure. The Whole World is the Ville. That's for Fayetteville. I mean, that's really all I got to say about that. That's for people that's from Fayetteville. That he's literally spelling out Fayetteville on the hook. I'm never going to sing that song because I'm not from Fayetteville. But it was a clever way of trying to spell out Fayetteville, you know what I mean? And Ocean Way, musically and sonically, it sounds good, but, I don't think that it was necessarily needed. So, again, if I take the entire disc one and maybe Fall Off is Inevitable, Old Dog, Life Sentence, Only You, Quick Stop, I Love Her Again. So yeah, if you could condense this down to like 17, because it's 24 songs. If you condense this down to about 17 songs, I think that you're looking at like a 5 out of 5 album. I think at that point I will go from a 4 to a 5. I think at that point you're looking at a universal classic. I think that this will go down. I think this will age better with time, and I think that eventually people will call this a classic. But in terms of instant classic, people aren't going to say it's an instant classic just because of how long it is and just because of all the narratives around J. Cole now. But this is a phenomenal, amazing, great project that I'm not worried about comparing it to like all you see is just everybody's comparing him to Kendrick or Drake, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, for what? Like, these guys are completely different humans, completely different people. One is from Fayetteville, North Carolina. One is from Compton. One is from Toronto. These are people who come from different, excuse me, guys, come from different worlds, different experiences. They have nothing really in common outside of being rappers. Like, there's no need to compare. Like, Kendrick or Drake couldn't make this album, and Cole can't make those type of albums. I just compared. But it's like, that's my reasoning for I don't listen to this with comparison ears because of that reason. They're not the same people. They don't make the same type of music. I appreciate these guys all for what they do, right? So I'm not with the internet fodder, the Twitter warriors coming up with these long think pieces, coming up with what they think about Cole as a man or human, or he should have did this in a battle. But I don't care about none of that. I'm gonna be honest. I'm here to listen to the music, enjoy the music. I'm a J. Cole fan. I think J. Cole is one of the greatest rappers of all time, and he's one of the best. No, he's one of the greatest of all time, and I think obviously he's one of the best of his generation, and I have him as my number one of the generation. He's my personal favorite of the generation between him and all of his peers from the blog era, Wale, Big Sean, Kendrick, Drake, Meek Mill, Wiz, Big Crit, all those guys that came around the same time as him. He's my favorite out of all those guys. I think he's the best out of all those guys. Again, I have J. Cole in my top 5 of all time. I think he's one of the GOATs. And I do think that universally he's had a career where he's established himself, even if you don't agree with me as he's a top 5 artist, which I understand, top 5 rapper. I think universally, you have to acknowledge him as like a top 20 rapper of all time. And I think for us to be in an era where we have guys like him, Drake, and Kendrick, again, not to compare, but just to acknowledge it, to have three guys who probably all are in the GOAT conversation or top 20, top 25, that's a great thing. So just appreciate it. Like, why we don't need to, every time they drop, bring up the beef, bring up the battle, bring up them comparing each other to one another. Like, I just don't see the point in that. I think this is a phenomenal body of work. I love the album. Again, it's going to be a J. Cole fans classic. Like, as a fan of Cole, this is one of his classics to me. But universally, I understand that this probably will be something that's called a classic as time goes on. And mainly because it's of the like I said, all the stuff going on, but also because it's so long. It's hard to say like, oh, this is the classic when it's 24 songs to digest, because it takes a while to sit with the album. So people who listened to it one time and then gave a review the next morning, it's like, come on now, right? But this is an amazing body of work. I love the album. Like I said, my only criticisms is that it could have been a little shorter. Some of the songs could have been shorter, and it didn't need to be 24 songs, in my opinion. But I understand if this is your last album, you just like, hey, let me put everything out on here. I don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to wish that I put this song on there or that song on there. I love this album. I've been playing it ever since it dropped. My favorite song switches. At first it was Poor Thing. Then it switched to Who the F Is You. Then it switched to Hit the Gas. Now I really like Man Above. So it varies. Oh, Only You I've been playing since yesterday. So I love the album, man. I think it's a great body of work. In terms of rating J. Cole albums, I still have Forest Hills Drive as his best, because I just think that was the perfect like 10 out of 10 album in terms of sonically, musically, and lyricism and bars and storytelling. Like, he hit every point there is to hit in a hip hop album. Like, you really can't make too many hip hop albums better than Forest Hills Drive. Born Center to me is like no skips. So Born Center probably is my second, and this is probably either tied with second or third. But then if I put Sideline Story in there, then Sideline Story is probably 2. Because Sideline Story has the most amount of classic J. Cole hits. Like, Sideline Story has Lost Ones, Nobody's Perfect, Can't Get Enough, Darling or Dream, Lights Please. Like, that is like that album has some of the most classic J. Cole records. So that probably would be the second best body of work by J. Cole in terms of albums. And then maybe third is Born Center or The Fall Off. Maybe a tie, or maybe, I don't know. It depends. I got to sit with it more. But and then if I'm including mixtapes, then Friday Night Lights is his best body of work, period. So it just depends. But I think this is an incredible album. I'm definitely pleased as a fan. I'm definitely satisfied. I'm definitely going to go to the tour when it comes to LA. I live in LA, or New York. I'll probably be in New York by then. Your boy will be back on the East Coast. But yeah, I love it. Shout out to Fayetteville. Shout out to Vietnam. Shout out to my cousin D, who live out there, and be mobbing out with J. Cole. He was actually in the 2-6 video. Shout out to Big D and Lil D. But yeah, man, I think this is a great body of work. Again, good storytelling, good lyricism, good beat selection, great songs. He has some of my favorite songs. Like, some of these songs will enter. Like, Poor Thing is now probably one of my top 5, top 10 J. Cole songs. So anytime you get a project and there's songs on there that are like some of the best from that artist, that's a great body of work. So I love the project. I love the concept of it. I love it. I'm pleased as a fan. Like I said, I'm not here to compare to other people. That's not what this is about. This is J. Cole's moment, and it's been a great career. And I'm sad that this is going to be his last album. So I think we should just appreciate it for what it is and appreciate why we have it, man. And I think, again, I'm pleased and satisfied as a fan. So tell me what you guys think. Tell me who you want me to review next. Again, and if you want to see some of my articles, you can check out BuzzFeed and stuff like that. I've written like dozens of articles for BuzzFeed covering hip hop, stuff like that. So yeah, tap in and let me know what else you guys want to hear. Lamar West, Center Collection. Until next time.